Hi everyone, welcome back to Career 360. If you are an MBA aspirant, then this is a must-watch video for you. Today we have a student who has aced multiple MBA entrance exam. He has given CAT, MBA CET as well as ZAT. We have Virendra with us who is currently pursuing his MBA from JBIMS. Welcome Virendra, how are you doing?
Thank you for your invitation to this webinar. I'm fine. I'm enjoying my life at my college, JBIMS. JBIMS has generally been a dream for a lot of candidates, especially the guys who appear for CET and provided they did not have a great day at CAT. This is basically the college that is targeted by a lot of folks.
Great, great. Congratulations on that. For everyone who is watching this video, can you just give us a brief introduction about yourself, your profile, and why you decided to pursue MBA?
Yeah, definitely. So to begin with, I completed my graduation from Vishwakarma Institute of Technology in Pune. I did my BTech in computer engineering. I had a 8.28 CGPA to cap it off. I am a fresher, 2023 pass out. Basically, MBA, I felt that management is something which definitely attracted me from the beginning, especially having close relatives and uh, friends doing management courses. I definitely felt that apart from engineering, technically engineering has developed me, helped me develop technical prowess, how to be updated with the latest technology and the latest developments out there. But management is something which definitely helps you to shape your company as a whole. It does not only help you to a- attain and achieve goals desired by the company, but also helps you to shape the company policies and be instrumental in actually shaping how the company goes henceforth.
Which exam did you wanted to pursue initially, and when did you started your preparation?
Okay, after a lot of deliberation and consultations with my mates, my colleagues, my professors, I finally decided that going ahead with CAT prep should be the best option. So I started CAT prep in February 2022, targeting the November 2022 attempt. I felt that CAT prep gave me an advantage over preparation for other competitive exams because CAT, you can say, is like a umbrella examination. The core concepts covered in CAT definitely help you to cover the core for remaining competitive management entrance examinations as well. Wherein, if you look at some of the other entrance examinations, they need not necessarily cover the entire core, which would have like rendered me helpless in some tougher competitive examinations.
Okay, okay. So in CAT, what was the section that you found very challenging, and how did you improve in it?
Okay. The most difficult thing for me was VRC. VRC is the first section in the CAT examination as we cannot switch sections. So you have to attempt VRC first, and that used to be a challenge. VRC, generally, I did not score very well in VRC. I had days when I scored negative marks in VRC, but just having the belief that VRC should not spoil the rest of the two sections with me failing to clear the sectional cutoff would have been a very disappointing and disheartening scene for me. So I ensured that I practiced maximum VRC questions. I changed my strategies a couple of times to ensure that whatever strategy I'm going to follow on the exam day definitely yields me marks. It should not happen that my final strategy did not yield me marks. So I made sure earlier I was targeting the verbal ability section of VRC. Later on, I've changed and tried to target the reading comprehension section a lot, and I found success in it. I experienced that I could gradually have an increase in my marks. So I finally stuck with doing RCs majorly and a little part of VA in the end of the section.
Okay, great. So, what were the resources that you were using for your preparation? Did you join any coaching or did you take any help from someone?
Yeah, I joined IMS for their online coaching program. I would say that I also had the test series for career launcher and time.
Okay.
That's because I felt that giving test series of different institutes definitely like opens up different types of questions for me. In the end of the day, the people who set the IMS paper are fixed. So having papers set by different individuals under different institute types definitely helped me acclimatize myself to different levels of questions. I wouldn't name that, but definitely I'll say that the three institutes did not have their papers at similar levels. It's basically one of the institute had their mocks which were considerably difficult. I used to score very badly in those, wherein the other two institutes I used to score well, but that basically enabled me to acclimatize to whatever happens on the exam. I should not get blocked by maybe a tough VRC paper or a tough DILR paper.
Okay. So since you have given CAT, ZAT, as well as CET, so what was the difference that you found in the pattern of these exams?
Okay. To begin with, CAT is definitely it's section closed, so you can attempt each section only once, and after the 40 minutes are up, you definitely do not have a chance to go back and toggle to that section. So basically, CAT has taught me to maximize the time for each of the sections. CAT, therein you have 40 minutes for all the sections. So you have to make sure that you give your best in the 40 minutes. Wherein contrasting it with ZAT and MACET, I felt that since you were able to toggle through all the questions, so I personally used to follow that I'll do my strongest sections since CET does not have sectional weightage. It does not have sectional percentiles. So I completely followed the process of having targeting my strongest section in CET. Wherein ZAT, I of course did it to a certain extent, but ZAT did have sectional cutoffs. So I barred from using it like completely. Apart from that, CAT is a exam wherein it's your accuracy that is tested, and you need not attempt a lot of questions. It should be that you attempt the correct questions which you can do it in a lesser amount of time, wherein CET is an examination which is completely time based, since the number of questions in CET exceed the number of the time limit in minutes. It's 200 questions and 150 minutes. So definitely accuracy plays a very important role, but also being speedy and doing your calculations quickly, deciding on your options as soon as possible is very important in CET. If Because if your number of attempts are less, then it definitely hampers your total score, as you generally do not go in with 100% accuracy. So time also plays a very important role in CET, wherein in CAT it does not play a very that important role. And that I would say the decision making section is something which is completely out of the box. That isn't presented in any of the other competitive exams, even SNAP and MAT, they do not have that section. So that is something definitely which changes the ball game completely. It basically makes your calculation of your estimated percentiles a hell lot more difficult, because you just cannot establish that okay, I have performed. For the other sections you have benchmarks. Okay, I performed this well in X section in CAT, for example. But for decision making, you just have one attempt, and that is in the ZAT. So you just cannot establish your percentiles.
Yeah. So you talked about decision making section in ZAT. So how did you prepare for it? Since you told me that it isn't found in any other exam, how did you tackle that section?
Okay. Decision making is a section which is largely based on ethical mindset, I would say. It may be that practically something you won't do it, but ethically that may be the correct approach. So decision making, it's basically practice, practice, and practice. Like trying to internalize that what type of answers, what type of approaches to questions is what is expected by the exam. Basically, giving a very blatant example, I just cannot, it won't be that easy that it won't ask you to justify murder, but it may be like wherein it's like more like in a grayish area, wherein it may ask you whether like if you are being bribed maybe, or if you, in exchange of money, if you are asked to do some act, would you do that, or what should be your stance going ahead? Would you just go on do it, or would you go and take action against the person who tried to bribe you, or would you just accept the bribe and go ahead with it? So that is something wherein it is ethically, by and large, it is based on your ethical mindset, but also it has some aspects wherein being a bit practical is also important. Just being ethical or just being practical does not give you the way out in the decision making section of that.
Okay, that's great. So you are a set topper. So how did you plan to strategize your attempt in CET? As you told me that there are no specific time allotted to each section. So what was your attempt strategy in CET?
Okay. To begin with, just for everyone's information, CET generally has their verbal ability section. It is pegged around 50 questions. Similarly, the quantitative aptitude section is also pegged at around 50 questions. The logical reasoning section carries 75 questions roughly. And the abstract reasoning, again, abstract reasoning is something which is again presented only by the CET. It has the remaining 25 questions. So for that, personally, as I mentioned earlier, I used to follow the strongest section first strategy, wherein maths and logical reasoning being my strongest section, I would try and attempt a lot more questions from these two sections during the first 1.5 hour, or maybe the first 1 hour 45 minutes of the examination. I generally used to match this strategy of strongest section first with another strategy which is quite common, that's called the 30-40 strategy. That is 30 minutes and 40 questions in every period of 30 minutes. But since I used to go in with the strongest section first strategy, I twisted the strategy a bit to fit into my strategy. So I used to go in with the mindset that the first 30 minutes is 46 questions, the next 30 minutes 43 questions, so on, a decreasing AP to 34 questions. This because as I am naturally doing my strongest section first, so I get over with questions that I find easier quickly. So in the end of the paper, I'll definitely have questions that I won't be able to do as quickly and as accurately as I was doing during the beginning stages of my examination. So that's why I twisted the strategy a bit and combined it with the strongest section first strategy. Apart from it, I also used to, like during the mocks, I used to attempt through the round strategy, just in case to see that if the round strategy fits me better than the strongest section first strategy. But with maybe 10 to 15 mocks with the round strategy and another 15 to 20 mocks in the strongest section first strategy, I could finally come to a conclusion that the strongest section first strategy is the best suited for me. By the round strategy, I mean attempting the paper in the sequential order from 1 to 200, going through the questions which you find easy in the first round, then in the next round, moving to the questions which you find slightly difficult than the ones which you did in the first round. So that is something which can be helpful to keep a track of time. If you just go in with the strongest section first strategy, then I get candidates who generally have that complaints that they aren't able to like cope up with time or keep a track of time. Maybe 1 or 2 questions they'll end up spending 5 or 6 minutes for a question. So that generally like takes you out of the equation on the exam. So this is what is very important. And as I said earlier, time plays a crucial role. If you like block down somewhere, then definitely that may hamper your chances to a seat at JBIMS.
Great, sure. So CET is in few days. What are some of the last week tips that you want to give to the students who are appearing this year?
Okay. Firstly, I would say that please be and have a positive mindset throughout the examination. It's not necessarily that the paper will have questions that you feel easy, or the sections that are your stronger section having easier questions. Just to give a personal examination, in the CAT 2022 attempt, my system had shut down twice during the examination. Still, I made it a point that despite maths being my strongest section, I had to appear the last 10 minutes of the examination when all other students were done with their paper and there was just chaos in the room. Still, I made sure that I have to keep my composure and keep attempting the questions and try to give my best. So, giving mocks is definitely something which has helped me build the mentality. I could like cope up with such a unfortunate happening on the exam day and make sure that that does not hamper my position and my score a lot. Apart from that, I would say that try improving your sections which aren't fetching you a lot of marks, because it's definitely possible that a section which maybe you score 40% accuracy, that will definitely have a greater chance of you improving your score. And next important thing, getting bogged down somewhere during the paper, that I just had a blackout moment, which is generally the term used by a lot of candidates, that can be very detrimental. So ensuring that that does not happen, and what I follow is basically not letting any of the questions go beyond 1 minute. Go A question being solved in 1 minute on an average ensures that you have at least 150 genuine attempts. And if you could pull that 1 minute down to 50 seconds, so you can have 180 genuine attempts in the 2.5 hours stipulated time. So that those 30 questions, just bringing down your average time by a 10 seconds margin, can definitely enable you to solve at least, not if not 30, 15 to 20 questions more. So that is what I feel is very important.
All right, great. So, you talked about the importance of mock. So, at what point at your preparation did you start giving mocks?
Okay, fine. To be frank, my preparation was by and large based on CAT prep. So just the type of questions, maybe for example, CAT does not ask you grammar out and out, or maybe sentence completion out and out, or the topic termed as clues test in CET. That is not being tested in CAT. So I had to work after the CAT and the ZAT prep was over on my side. I had to work just for the sections which aren't tested in CAT. These few parts of English, and somewhat I had to work on logical reasoning, because the type of questions CAT does not test you on direction test, but CET definitely tests you on direction test. So I equipped myself with these strategies with these topics, and also majorly not to miss out the abstract reasoning part, that is something which is there just in CET. So after equipping myself with the theory part of this, solving a few questions from these topics, I went on to attempt mocks. As I had decided for CAT that I attempted a CAT mock, at least one mock for the last 30 days. That basically enabled me to build mentality, have a tough mentality, that no matter how difficult the paper turns out to be, or how unfortunate circumstances as I experience may occur, that is just like, that's just bad luck. You just cannot hold anyone accountable for it. That just may happen with you. So that definitely helped me to build my mentality and not get deterred by any of the external factors that aren't in my control.
Okay, that's great. So, in your first attempt in CAT, you scored a great percentile. You scored a 99.29 percentile. So then what made you attempt it again? And what were the calls that you got in the first attempt?
Okay. Firstly, answering your first question, that I reattempted CAT just to make sure that I am in context with it. I know what CAT paper is has been, or what has been the difficulty. I have a lot of friends who consult me, so they like pushed me, ki, bro, please give it again. Let's see what happens, how you score. So definitely getting a good score in CAT again definitely helped me boost my confidence, and I felt happy that okay, fine. Despite being in a good college, despite being busy with the schedule, with the assignments and placements, still I could manage a decent CAT score again. Apart from that, in the first CAT attempt, I received calls from most of the IIMs, the cap, all of the cap IIMs. I am Vishakhapatnam, I am Nagpur, I am Amritsar. These were the IIMs. I unfortunately did not have any calls from the old IIMs quoted as the Blackie, and I had calls from IIT Bombay and FMS Delhi. These were
Okay.
the notable calls.
Okay. So, what was the interview experience at these colleges? You mentioned you had calls from FMS as well as from CAP calls. So, how was the interview experiences and what were the calls that you converted?
I converted IIT Bombay and I converted all of the IIMs. Unfortunately, I could not convert FMS.
Okay.
My FMS interview, to be frank, I'm an engineer, I'm a fresher, so it is definitely expected that I'm very much thorough with the concepts that are being taught in the last maybe couple of years of engineering. But unfortunately, I had a tough session in answering the engineering part. I've been a child who has attempted a lot of GK competitions right from my school days. So definitely, I could easily go through with the general knowledge part of the things, and along with it, definitely current affairs goes through. But I had a very tough time in engineering. I had questions with just like I had blackout. I said that you should not have a blackout, but I completely had blackouts. Like there were easy questions, easy engineering questions, which any other given day I could have definitely answered, but I failed to. So that was something which like hit my confidence a bit, that I like failed to answer basic questions. Apart from that, my CAP interview was largely based on general knowledge, and like somewhat it they took me to an area which is my favorite. They asked me some questions about marathoning. I am a long distance runner. I am an ultra marathoner. So they went into ultra marathoning a bit. They like just wanted to see that how much confident I am. They were like that you are unable, like they even gave me hypothetical situations like you are unable to finish a race. What would be your mentality be at that point of time? And similarly, if you are in a similar position in the corporate world, so what would you do? That some proposal of yours or maybe some assignment that you had been assigned is not being completed by the deadline. So what you should be your approach? And the IIT Bombay interview, it was completely based on marathoning. The interviewer one, I guess he was a gentleman in his 60s. He had been a professor at IIT Kharagpur, IIT Kanpur, and then was taking up management courses at IIT Bombay, the Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management. So that guy like tried grilling me. Literally, he tried grilling me over marathon. So he even asked me that there is a certain guy who has done a full marathon in under 2 hours, but that isn't considered the world record. So why so? So he went into that depths that he literally checked my inside out knowledge about marathoning. So definitely that being my hobby for the last 10 years, definitely 10 maybe 12 years, like that has been a part of my life for more than half of my life. So definitely I had the knowledge. So that went smoothly. And in the end, he asked me basic questions like difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning. These basic engineering questions, that is what he asked towards the end of the interview. And I had a smooth flowing interview. So I cleared IIT Bombay by God's grace.
Okay, great. So we see a lot of students who leave top IIMs to go to JBIMS. So when did you decided to give CET exam and how was your interview process, or did you have any interview at JBIMS or there was a merit list?
JBIMS, Master of Management Studies, that is MMS, that is basically an equivalent of MBA or PGDM offered in IIMs. Apart from that, there are two more courses. One is termed as MSc Finance, and the other one is MHRD, that is Masters of Human Resource Development. So the flagship course does not have any GDPR or writing ability test as such. The admission process is entirely based on the merit of Maharashtra CET examination. The other two courses definitely have their GDPR and writing ability test processes. So in MHCET, generally the cutoffs for JBIMS tend to go up to like around 50 to 55 ranks for open category students. So I had a 99.90 percentile, 9048, and I do not remember the exact percentile. I had a 99.90, so that helped me to clear the cutoff and get a sit at JBIMS.
So
So this is something which is very beneficial. Again, there are definitely students who aren't very well versed in what they did in their graduation, or maybe did not have a job which they liked, but they had to do due to maybe societal pressure, family pressure. So JBIMS definitely does not have the GDPI component. So it definitely only grants you admission on what your merit is and what how you perform in the examination. So students, even students who aren't very well versed in English, who have tough communicating with the interviewers, or the interviewers do not form a grade, the students definitely may have been excellent, brilliant, genius minds, but again the interviewer may not have formed a great impression due to improper communication. So JBIMS definitely is a great way for students. As you get into JBIMS, you definitely have a chance with peers who have definitely have had a strong resume, seniors who definitely are always helpful. So you definitely have an opportunity to improvise your speaking skills, improvise your soft skills, your business communication skills, everything. So getting into JBIMS itself is a hurdle, but if cleared, you definitely have an opportunity to work on all these factors which may otherwise have like not let you get an admission into a college with a GDPR or maybe a WAT.
great. Okay, so you told me about how you converted cap calls as well. So what made you choose a JBIMS instead of an IIM college?
Okay, fine. Going by legacy, JBIMS is among the first six I management schools of India.
Yeah.
When we had JBIMS established in 1960s, we only had IIM ABC, the XLRI, that is the Xavier's College Jamshedpur, and
Yes.
FMS Delhi. So JBIMS is the sixth school. So JBIMS definitely has got a great legacy of alumni. We as an institute are we have visiting faculty who are alumni, so definitely it helps us to develop industry connect and have experience from guys who have actually succeeded in the industry. It's just not about professors. Professors definitely get in with their technical aspects, or maybe having their prowess in actual academic aspects of the thing, but to learn from a guy, to see his insights about the industry from a guy who has actually worked in the industry and succeeded in the industry, definitely that was something which I felt that JBIMS definitely will give me an opportunity day in day out. It is so very heartening to see alums who have like done exceedingly well in their life come and teach you lectures day in and day out. It's just grateful and inspiring to see such huge people having such high value, having attained the pinnacle of corporate world day in and day out, coming to give you lectures. That is something which like just pulled me towards it.
That's great. So
I
you,
would I would definitely say that JBIMS, if you talk about other factors which you definitely look for into a B school, that is infrastructure or maybe campus life, JBIMS does not provide you that. I would definitely say. But having the opportunity to learn from alums day in and day out, that is something I would definitely be sure that only JBIMS can provide. That's the only B school I'm sure about it, that it definitely has more than half of the subjects being taught by alums. So
that's
that definitely, and being before going into the college, the only thing that attracted me was learning from the alums. But after seeing their approach and after seeing the way they like to teach their juniors, we are their juniors in one way or the other. Maybe we are 40 years down the line, their juniors, but still the excitement and the happiness that they have in helping their institute build and continue its reputation is something which has definitely taught me that a person should definitely be grounded no matter how successful he or she becomes.
That's great. That's great to know. So, since you gave CAT twice, what were the learnings that you experienced in your first attempt that you implemented in your second one, which you can share with the students that they can learn from?
The first CAT attempt that I took was maybe my first serious competitive exam. I of course attempted competitive the CET as well as the JEE mains at the undergraduate level and undergraduate entrance level. But after you have become a graduate, you definitely generally have more maturity. You have a serious attitude towards life. Okay, now I'm at a point wherein in the next few years I need to be economically self-sufficient. If not helping my family, at least be self-sufficient. So that is something wherein I made it a point that okay, fine. I was in the last year of my engineering. As I mentioned, I passed out in 2023 May. So I was in the last year of my engineering. I had to balance engineering, my assignments, vivas, examination, along with the CAT prep. But I made it a point that I have to give my best. So I, as I said, I attempted a lot of mocks. But again, I feel that I underscored in the DILR part. I like when I came home, when the question paper, the response sheets were out, I could attempt a set more of DILR easily, which I just could not. That was like something I felt okay, I could have done better. I could have increased maybe at least 9 to 10 marks, maybe 9 or maybe 12 marks, 3 or 4, depending upon the number of questions that I made sure that okay, be equipped with it. Be like I've always been confident while appearing for competitive exams throughout my life. I that has been something which I definitely I'm grateful to God because that has enabled me to like outscore my potential, I would say. Like for example, had my potential been a 99 percentile or maybe a 99 98 percentile, but just having a composed mindset, being positive that no matter what happens, you go into the paper and remain composed throughout the paper. It should not happen that maybe a tough section like just derails your entire examination strategy. So in the 2023 CAT, definitely my favorite section, mathematics. I had a tough time in the beginning. I just could attempt the first question of mathematics, and directly the next question that I could attempt was question number 9. So I definitely like felt a little examination pressure that oh shit, this is not what was planned or what was in the script. But I like recouped myself. I made that I was composed again. And then in the next 12 questions, as mathematics quants has 22 questions, in the next 12 questions, 11 to the 22nd question, I could attempt another 10 questions. So that basically balanced out the beginning chaos that I had in the mathematics. Why could I do this? Majorly, I would say that I was better composed. I was better equipped that no matter what happens, I have to like be the same as I was at minute one of the examination. I need to be the same till minute 120. And of course, one more thing was definitely was I won't say that this is a very great thing, but since this wasn't an attempt which was gonna decide what college or what course I get. So I definitely did not have exam pressure. So that was something additional. I would of course say that I should have been this like confident and composed during my first attempt. I could have maybe scored better. Like frankly, scoring a better score in the second attempt and improving my percentile by 0.29 was something which I just didn't foresee. I would say that frankly, I felt that last year I had attempted slot 2 of CAT and this year I had slot 1. So I felt that this year's slot 1 was definitely difficult than what the paper was last year for the slot 2. So I felt that students, since we have relative marking in most of the competitive exams in the form of percentile, so students had a blackout. Students could not do as well as they wanted. So I could improve my percentile despite having a lesser scaled score. I had an increased percent due to the fact that the difficulty of CAT being increased year on year is something which is playing largely on aspirants' mind. So this is something which is very important to be tackled. I would say I always term that even the person who scored a maybe a 98.5 or a 99 was definitely in the race for maybe 99.7 on the exam. But why did he or she not succeed? There are a few reasons, maybe succumbing to exam pressure, or maybe having a blackout somewhere, or maybe like had a good section 1, had a good section 2, maybe had a very bad section 3, which like maybe maths wasn't their strongest section, but they just could not go to the at par stage also, that what they expected before the examination. So that is something which plays a very important role, which actually I would say separates the guys who actually turn out to be successful and who like just fail to finish, like reach the finish line, I would say.
That's great. So, usually, during a long preparation for these competitive exams, students usually get demotivated. So, how did you kept yourself motivated during your preparation all these years?
Okay, definitely. The score of 99.3 may feel that the entire journey had been rosy. It just isn't that. I had negative marks in BRC as I accepted earlier. I had total marks of the three sections. I even experienced single digit marks. I had a total of seven maybe in one of the mocks somewhere down the line. But what is important that having a bad mock isn't the end of the day. A mock isn't the examination which is deciding what calls you get or what your future can turn out to be. It's just a step in your preparation. Taking all the mocks, all the preparation as just like steps to the final success. I assumed it and I worked accordingly. Some important tips: I being a good guy at quants and considerably good at DILR, I feel. So something that is very important in quants is definitely having a formula book. Having all your formula jotted down. I would say I attempted multiple competitive exams, but the formula book for CAT is what was my base, what was my core. I made it a point that whatever topics I try to cover, I always wrote down whatever formula, even if the formula is something which I used only once in maybe one of the mocks, or not even in the mocks, maybe in some of the practice questions. Still, that formula will definitely be there in my formula book. Apart from that, one more important thing is definitely keeping a note of questions. I understand that competitive exams definitely test your preparation. It is definitely time bound. So you definitely run short of time. But at least making a note of questions that you could not do in your first attempt, or maybe you took longer than you should have taken. So making a note of all these questions, like writing them down and like noting what tricks or maybe what strategies you use to decode this question is something which definitely like ensures that okay, you are equipped with those questions. Even I faced similar circumstances wherein okay, I solved a question, I wrote it down in my notebook, but still the next time similar question came up, I could not do it. But since I was sure that okay, this is there in my notebook somewhere, I could just go back to it and check what had I done and how was the approach to it. So people may feel, "Oh, no, I can remember everything," but that isn't it. It's a very long race. It isn't something what you prepare for 15 days and just appear for it. There are a hell lot of topics, there are a hell lot of strategies that need to be done, and you need to be thorough with them. So definitely maintaining a book wherein you maintain your formula and your strategies, how you what strategy you use to decode tough questions, at least the tough ones, is something which can be very instrumental. Otherwise, it may very well happen. Even I used to experience this sometimes. If I fail to write the question or maybe be a bit lethargic, that I fail to write the question, and next time I'm stuck in a similar question, but I could not do it, then again I have to find the answer, maybe consult one of my profs ki how to go about this question. But had I written that, had I made a note of it, I wouldn't have had to struggle that much. So that is something which is very important.
Okay, that's great. And what about the LRDI section? You talked about how one can improve in quant section. What was your strategy for the LRDI section?
LRDI section, I feel that regardless of your stream, regardless of your background, the Indian education system just generally does not test you for DILR, I would say. You definitely have mathematics somewhere or the other. If you did not opt for mathematics, it's a different ballgame. But talk about any of the streams, you aren't tested for DILR. So DILR is something which most of the people like feel that it is completely new for them. DILR itself has a variety of topics. Topics that may feel that, okay, topic A is completely not related to topic B, or maybe that whatever concepts used in topic A are just aren't applicable in maybe some other topic. So for that, I would say practice is something which is very important, because it's just about familiarizing yourself with newer sets, with newer concepts. Definitely, I would say in the same chapter, for example, I like to quote the topic tournaments. Tournaments is a topic wherein I would say it is tested in CET also, but it's at a very basic level. In CAT, tournaments has like you'll have 2 to 3 parameters being jumbled. Maybe there's the rank which is being jumbled. Maybe there's like the competition which they aren't sure about. They may have given like, for example, there are 3 types of sports competition, maybe a running race, a sack race, maybe, and maybe a swimming competition. And then they'll give you like uh, sentences, clues, and you'll have to decode what rank each of the candidate had in this each of the competition. So that is something which is tested in CAT only. So for this, definitely doing lot of sets is what is important. Again, I would say that since DILR is something which we aren't familiar with, keeping a note of most of the sets of DILR won't be harmful. I'd say for this, like candidates may feel that what I am suggesting is becoming too very time consuming. But if you plan to dedicate like 6 hours regularly throughout 8 months, maybe, or maybe 10 months, you definitely can ace the exams using all this, doing all this. Since there are only a handful of people who are genius who can crack any given set, but rest of the people definitely have to work on it, have to internalize that what was being used. So that is something which is very important.
Okay, great. So let's talk about your summer internship placements at JBIMS. How was that experience? What was the roles that were in demand and how were the companies that were coming?
Companies, JBIMS generally gets all of the companies which go to old IIMs, I would say. Of course, taking it with a pinch of salt, some companies do not come, and not to mention, of course, companies that do come offer certain roles only to maybe IIM ABC students. They do not offer those roles anywhere else in any of the B schools throughout the length and breadth of India. So I would say that the roles largely are financial analyst, marketing research intern, or maybe a couple of companies come in with the HR role. And marketing companies, since interns generally aren't very like well established at chalking out marketing strategies. So companies do come in with sales roles as well. So sales roles would be something which would be front end roles wherein you'll actually affect the sales of the company. So that is something wherein sales is something I would say would come under soft skills part of the human anatomy, human behavior. And marketing is something which is specific, for which you need to have done thorough research and need to have a clear idea that what factors affect that company's proposals, what type of consumers are that company's target audience. So sales roles, financial analyst roles, HR roles, and a few operation roles, that is what is largely offered in the summer internship process. we have a proper, well established summer internship week wherein it's largely concentrated on, like, the entire focus during the week is getting most of the students placed for their summer internships. We do, of course, have people who are remaining to placed even after the placement week, but definitely the process carry on, but that, like, goes on, like, along with the academics. During the placement week, you generally have only placements going on. Academics are generally paused for that particular. So placements week, I being a fresher, having never done an internship, placements week was a wonderful experience for me. It basically was my first, I would say, professional interview. I would not rate an interview for a B school a professional interview. In the end of the day, they aren't testing any domain specific knowledge. For example, if I'm applying to a finance role, despite me being an engineer, I have to be equipped with finance terms. I have to be equipped with finance concepts and what the company wants and what the company is actually into, like what their mission is or what are their future plans. But for maybe a B school interview, it was largely on what I have done, like my academics or maybe my extracurriculars. So this was my first experience of professional interview. So I definitely had a tough time in few of the interviews. Maybe the first one, or maybe couple of GDs and couple of interviews, I could not do very well in. But definitely later on, I is the skill that what is required. That how should you chip in into a GD maybe, or what your point should be, and how frequently should you like communicate in a GD. It should not happen that you talk too very often, or it should not happen that you talk too very less number of times. So that does not carry a good impression. So not being in a professional environment before this, that was my first learning experience for a professional GD and professional interviews, I'd say.
Oh, okay, great. So your journey has been really inspirational to many students. So what are your plans going ahead as a professional person going ahead after MBA, and what are the specialization that you are planning to choose in the upcoming months in your MBA program?
Okay. I've like always been attracted towards finance. I feel that finance is at the base of any good and well established business. Without having a good control over finance, no business can succeed. Immaterial whether that is a fast moving consumer goods business or maybe some luxury business, you have to be well equipped with finance, I feel. So I'm planning to choose finance as my specialization, and I plan to pursue a career in corporate finance. I feel that corporate finance is a field wherein you definitely can, like, play a very instrumental role in actually deciding how the finances of the company turn out to be. I would say that that is something which, like, though does not take the center stage at any given point of time, but for a successful business, the back end financing, the management of finances, the management of resources is something which plays a very crucial role. So I plan to choose finance as my specialization and opt for corporate finance.
That's great to hear. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about profile building. How much important do you think profile building is when it comes to placements as well as, college selection and admission? How much do you think profile building plays an important role?
With my own example and, like, not being very aware about the importance of profile building, I feel that if I had a better profile, I could have had a notch better college. But okay, fine, I am happy with what I have presently. So profile building, I feel, plays a very important role, like during the admission stage of your like B school life. Definitely, if you are a fresher like me, then what profile building largely includes is maybe an internship which you may have done, or maybe your activeness in college events, in your activeness in college societies. Being active in college societies, and, like, you definitely have to be active from the onset of the college to reach the pinnacle position. Even in college societies, they do even have hierarchies. So being at the topmost position in college societies, or maybe organizing committees of some events, definitely plays a very crucial role. That definitely has a side to it, that you are very good at managerial skills. That is something. Maybe being good at coding not necessarily means I'll have a good management skills set, but definitely being in the organizing committee of events definitely means that okay, I have some vision, I can do something which is constructive to the committee, I would say. So that basically is something for a fresher. I would say profile building for a fresher through college events, and like trying to involve yourself in most of the college activities is something which plays a very important role. After you step out into the corporate world of, or if you are returning to your MBA journey after maybe a few years of work, definitely you have been a professional. So you are well aware about how the corporate world actually functions. Though you may not have been at higher position, but still you have a rough outlook, rough idea that how exactly the corporate world functions. So therein, profile building after maybe having done a job, or maybe after having done internships after completing your graduation, is basically excelling in what you are presently doing and doing courses related to it, and trying to be active member in actual, like trying to get yourself into the decision making process of your office decisions. But for a fresher, I would say profile building is something which is very important, as work experience, which is a very big component of people who have work ex, that is completely not there in your profile. So the factors, the parameters that are examined for your profile are reduced, and work experience is a very important parameter. I rate it very as very important parameter. So definitely being active in your college events, or maybe connecting yourself with some NGO, or maybe uh, regularly being a part of their events also, is something which like adds multiple dimensions to your character. That is something which I would say is like more important to guys who are freshers than to someone who has a work experience.
Okay, that's great to hear. All right, so this was a really great session. I'm sure a lot of students would find your insights really, really helpful. And I wish you really, really good luck for your journey ahead. Thank you so much for joining us today. Career 360 would love to have you again sometime later. This was a great session. Any parting thoughts that you want to say?
Yeah, definitely. I like to thank Careers 360 from the bottom of my heart for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I feel that like having such webinars, having people who like have actually aced examinations is something which definitely helps to boost the confidence of candidates. They definitely feel that okay, this guy has done it. He someday he was on the same side as I am today, but he could succeed, so definitely I can. So having this is something which is very crucial and can be like a big confidence booster for people who are on the other side of the uh, like I would say other side of the program now. Even I like used to love to hear to candidates who aced CAT before I had done, or maybe someone who has aced CAT multiple times. Then I would used to be like, okay, this guy can do it year out, year in, year out. So definitely I can at least do that once. So that is something which propelled me. And this type of conversation, I would say, are really very useful when you are in your low phase during your preps, when you aren't at your best mindset, that you feel down maybe due to having a low score in one of the mocks, or maybe not having improvement despite trying to improve your scores consistently. These sessions, these talks can definitely help boost confidence at that point of time. For a guy who is like doing well, has is scoring nicely, like he does not feel down at any point of time. But for the guys who definitely have ups and downs in their prep journey, these sessions can be instrumental. Thank
That's
you
so
so
true.
much.
That's so true. That's so true. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you,
Thank you.
Virendra.